Yo, 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 what is going on, guys? Hope it's having a fantastic day today. So I want to go over some Eagles news. The number one thing I want to go over is the wide receiver 3 position. I want to kind of go over some news going kind of into that and the situation itself, which I think is really important. And secondly, I want to go over the tight end position. Kind of know what we already have behind there right now, but you know, some news has been surfacing on obviously a player or two that have really been striving to get a lot better, and see what this tight end group is going to look like going into next year. Obviously, you know, Dallas Goedert is perfectly fine. It's really just what's behind that going forward with the 2023 season and beyond. So I want to go over all that stuff. And yeah, let's get into it.
Because I've seen enough horror movies to know any weirdo wearing a mask is never friendly.
Yo, what is going on, guys? Hope it's on a fantastic day. I hope everyone's enjoying the start of their work week this week, and some news for you. Kind of like I've kind of changed my mind a little bit on the wide receiver 3 position, really from the past couple weeks, as you know, Eagles fans have really been eyeing Deandre Hopkins and where he's going to go and that whole entire situation. We've even heard, you know, obviously, you know, Hunter Renfrow is another player, you know, that, you know, has been on the trade block for a while, really. I mean, he's kind of been on the trade block really for a bit, you know, to move him. And what is he really going to cost for another team to go trade for him? And when you really look at both of these players at wide receiver 3, does it really make any sense? DeAndre Hopkins to me is just something that's, you know, a guy that could play to a number 1, to a number 2. Totally, you know, I totally respect that. I respect that he wants to get more money. I respect anything that he does want. His situation being with the Philadelphia Eagles is only going to be for one thing, is chasing a Super Bowl. That's really it. And being very selfless and, you know, not being the main focal point of this offense. As a wide receiver 3, obviously, when you get your shot, you're going to get your shot. He will never move to outside receiver. That's just one of the things that is not going to happen. You know, he's kind of taking his time and seeing, you know, what's really out there and how much money he can get. And it's just so late in the process as of right now. I just don't know where it's really going to make sense for him. I mean, he's got to take a 1-year deal, maybe give him a little bit of bonus money or something like that to kind of, you know, keep him satisfied. I think the Cardinals are paying him a pretty big chunk of money. I think they owe him a lot of money this year. So, I mean, he's not starving. I think we could probably say he's not starving too much. But Hopkins obviously would be a great acquisition. But do we need him? No, of course not. Because I feel like even with Quez Watkins being in the building, I feel like the Eagles really like him a lot. I don't know. We heard rumors that he's been on the trade block. They've been like secretly trying to trade him, whether that's, you know, real or not, to see what they can get for him. I mean, really, rumor wise, you know, they're trying to trade him for a 4th round pick, which really wouldn't be that bad for next year. You know, the Eagles will have 11 to 12 draft picks in next year's draft in 24, which is kind of crazy. You know what I mean? Which are a really good draft next year, by the way, for a lot of good positions that we need. And then you have Hunter Renfrow here, you know, as a, you know, a trade bait as of right now. And you know, I'm not really into, you know, getting it, you know, wasting a draft pick on a receiver, to be honest with you. I'd rather sign DeAndre Hopkins, but if not, I'd rather keep what we have and use Watkins, use, you know, Alamadi Zaccheaus, use both of those guys if you want. I mean, they brought, Zaccheaus was a very sneaky, really good signing for us. You know what I mean? So obviously had his best year last year with over 500 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pretty bad Falcons offense, and played pretty good. I think he'll be a special teamer for us, and I think, you know, I think he'll do double duty and use him specifically on certain plays for this offense, which would be great to use a, you know, a pure slot, you know, slot receiver, which an inside receiver, which is great, and that's what Zaccheaus is. Now Renfrow, on the other hand, I think, you know, besides Devontae Adams getting there in 2022, where, you know, in 2021 he had his best year with over 1,000 yards. You know, has obviously dealt with some injuries, had a concussion, he had an oblique injury, he missed about 4 games with that. So he's had a little bit of injury history here and there, and a concussion or 2. But he's very reliable, very good inside guy. I mean, I just, the only issue I have with Hunter Renfrow is really just trying to trade for him and giving up a draft pick right now. You know what I mean? I don't know if the Raiders are going to flat out release him, but from what I'm hearing, you know, they're trying to find a trade partner right now and kind of want to move on. And I think Hunter Renfrow really wants to move on as well, you know, and kind of, you know, build himself somewhere else. And I think it'd be great. You know what I mean? I just don't know how much faith the Eagles have in their receiver core as the number 3 receiver, okay? Because really, when you look at this offense for the Philadelphia Eagles, yes, we didn't really lose much besides a right guard and a running back, and we've replaced those tremendously. We still got training camp to go through with the competition at a lot of positions, but when you look at it, what is the number 1 position in this Eagles offense that just didn't produce enough? And that was the wide receiver 3. Obviously, when we heard at the end of the year that Quez Watkins had the grade 2 shoulder sprain, they used a lot of, they used other receivers. They used more double tight end sets when Quez wasn't around. They did a lot more in that offense. Quez is a good player. Like I have no issue with them starting him this year. I'm just hoping that he produces just a little bit more for us, and hopefully Brian Johnson gets him more involved. I mean, as a wide receiver 3. It's one of the more crappy positions because you're not the focal point in the offense. It goes through A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert. That's just the truth to the passing game. But when your number is called on a certain play and Jalen Hurts is extending it with his legs or something happens here, there were certain times where Quez either drops the ball. There were times where he fumbled. There were times where the ball was in a perfect spot and he wasn't even paying attention because, as a wide receiver 3, you might be that guy that's going to get the ball sooner or later. You know what I mean? You don't know what's going to happen when plays get extended and stuff like that. So you do have your chance. Even really after he had that, that first down catch, got himself back up in that Washington game and fumbled it. He was very down on himself, but it was nice for the Eagles not to be undefeated anymore because it took a lot of pressure off the team. And then really when we got back to the Colts and, we played some other teams, he started to come back a little bit. But then the Eagles really started phasing him out because of this injury we didn't really know about. You know what I mean? So, They were just doing different things, and that was it. And then they put him in the Super Bowl. The story. Drops one of the most crucial, would have been one of the biggest catches. That was a perfect ball. And for a guy that wasn't playing consistent games to that Super Bowl, to that point, and you give him one of the biggest opportunities in the game, I just didn't agree with it too much. So really at the end of the year, Quez humbled himself, said, hey, I didn't have a great year, blah, blah, blah. It is what it is. Then they signed Alamadi Zaccheaus, and then it was like, oh, my God. Eagles fans were just like taking Quez Watkins off this roster and like really praising Zaccheaus. And Quez Watkins went on Twitter and, just kind of unloaded on the fans. Like, I'm going to make y'all eat your words for saying that this guy's better or this guy's going to start over me. And, Quez, first really reported training camp because the beat writers were there. We don't know the other days what's been going on at practice. But that first day, Jalen Hurts and Quez Watkins have, they had he had one good catch, middle of the field, deep down. I think it was like a post corner route or something like that. I forgot what it was, or a seam or something like that. Big catch from Quez Watkins from Jalen Hurts, which is great. So, it really depends what the Eagles want to do here. Hunter Renfrow will be good, but you have to trade for him. And, do I really want to put are we in dire need at wide receiver 3? No. Like I said, I think you could still use Quez and still use. I think Quez is going to have a good year this year. I have a good feeling about it. He's not going to have like 800-900 yards, but he just has to pay more attention to himself and be a smarter player this year. This is a contract year for Quez. You know what I mean? So I just don't believe DeAndre Hopkins is going to come to the Eagles as a number 3. I don't care what he says about playing with the best quarterback or his top 5. I don't even care about what he said. It's going to come, what he says is what he says, which is still important. But at the end of the day, it comes down to what he's going to be putting in his pocket. You know what I mean? So if he wants to go play with Deshaun Watson with the Browns, which that was rumored, and then he really doesn't care about, winning a championship. He just wants to get paid. And, I don't know. I mean, that's just what it is. If you want to place your best bet on getting another contract and winning a championship, coming to the Philadelphia Eagles, the best team in the NFC, is probably the smarter choice right now. And I probably can agree with that. Yes, of course. You know what I mean? So unless you're going to KC or I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, if he signs with the Giants, the Cowboys, I mean, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, unless he's going to KC, he's not really going to do much of anything else. You know what I mean? Unless maybe the Bills. I don't know. Josh Allen is on the cover of Madden, so I don't even know if, the Madden curse is going to be on that team this year. But other than that, like I said, I'd rather not trade for a wide receiver. If Hunter Renfrow actually got released, I might be more intrigued just to bring him in. You know what I mean? I might be very intrigued to bring him in. But for a trade, I probably will pass on it. DeAndre Hopkins, because I know his intentions of what I think opinion wise of his intentions, I just don't think he's gonna want to be a number 3, and he's not going to complain about he doesn't have enough catches, or you know what I mean. Like, I just feel like there's going to be more to it with DeAndre Hopkins than just being on a good roster. Obviously, if you go to a good roster that's already built, already ready to win now, he's not going to get paid the money he wants to get paid. That's just the truth to it all. So that's really my whole thing with both of those players, and it may probably not as confusing as everyone thinks it is, but I feel like they're good with what they have right now. I feel like Quez is going to have a monster year. Like I said, this is a contract year. He's bulked up. I mean, I know somebody that knows his trainer that said he's been working his tail off this offseason. Has been doing good things. So I'm willing. I have enough trust in my gut to say I think Quez can come back with a fantastic year. Now, I don't think the Eagles are going to pay him after this year, but just to play for himself to get another contract somewhere, I think is more realistic going into all of that. So that's what I think about trading for Renfrow or signing DeAndre Hopkins, whatever the case may be. I still think they'll use Zaccheaus and they'll still use Quez regardless. I think you use both of those players. I think Zaccheaus will do double duty, because I feel like he will be in this offense, and I feel like he could be a potential punt returner, maybe a kick returner. Who knows? You know what I mean? I know he was on the punt return depth chart, but the kick return, and we didn't really see that list did not come out. Maybe they didn't do kick returns that day when they were reporting the news on OTAs. So we'll find out in the later days what's really going on. So it should be really interesting. Secondly, I want to go to the tight end position, and Grant Calcaterra has been having a monster offseason. He's been doing pretty good during OTAs. From what I've been hearing from the beat writers, been doing good to OTAs. He bulked up a good amount as well. Grant Calcaterra is an interesting story because, what was he, a six-round pick here? Played with Jalen Hurts at Oklahoma, then transferred to SMU. I know he had a lot of concussion injury. He had a lot of concussions in his college days. But the Eagles love bringing in guys, whether they're tight ends, wide receivers, you name it. They like bringing in guys that that have been getting, that have that connection with Jalen Hurts, that have played with Jalen Hurts, like Charleston Rambo and Jaden Hazelwood and some of these other guys that have really shown, Kennedy Brooks, guys that have played with Jalen Hurts in the past, running backs, doesn't matter what position, they brought in guys that have played with him, which is great. And I thought he played really good, especially after really we get to see a little bit more of the back end of your tight end position when Dallas Goedert gets hurt in that Washington game of the face mask injury, and then you're stuck with having Calcaterra and Jack Stahl. You know what I mean? Tyree Jackson, unfortunately, if he could stay healthy this offseason, it would be nice. He's 6'7", he's got a crazy wingspan. Just imagine him being a tight end for this team. If he can work out, it'd be great. I'm almost kind of done with Tyree Jackson because the guy just can't stay healthy. If he can stay healthy, and unfortunately, he's been more off the field than on the field, so he really has to show up this offseason and really turn out. And I don't know if he's going to do that, because now in front of Tyree Jackson, between Jack Stahl and between Grant Calcaterra, these guys have a lot of starting experience right now. Now, Jack Stahl is very good. I think he has really become a nice balanced tight end for us. He's not really that fast, but a guy can get some separation. His contested catching is really good. And what I do really like about Jack Stahl too is his reliable hands as well. He's got strong hands too, which I really like. And they were giving him some, for when Dallas Goedert was playing, Jack Stahl would get, a catch, each game, maybe a little bit more every other game. You know what I mean? So they were kind of building towards using him a little bit more and to not put everything on Dallas Goedert, obviously. But then when Grant Calcaterra showed up, man, I didn't think his blocking would have been that good, but I got to say, between his route running, the separation he gets some good separation middle of the field, and the guy can catch the football, and the guy could block really well. Does a lot of the dirty work very well, which I really do like with him. So I think Grant Calcaterra is going to be a really good player. I feel like he's going to get better. I think he will be. Obviously, the Eagles are keeping 3 tight ends for the the final roster when they have to really cut. They had the new rule this year for cutting this roster. They have to cut the roster from 90 to 53 in August. One day. They have to cut the roster in one day. It's going to be a tough day to really cut the roster. So, it's going to be a lot of maybe good decisions, maybe some Eagles fans are going to have favorites from training camp, like, oh man, like this guy, but it's a good thing for us because other teams are going to let go of players that we might need for special teams or something like that. So guys on waivers, the Eagles can go get. So that's another thing where you can acquire more players of need for depth purposes, special teams purposes, a lot of different things, which is good. You know what I mean? Or you're just trying to really fill out your practice squad or, what's available out there really at the end of it all before the season really does start. That's what you're kind of looking for here. But the Eagles signed Dan Arnold as well, veteran tight end, played with the Jags, has had some up and down seasons. He only had I don't really think he had like 200 yards last year. Then the year before that, over 300 to 500 yards, something like that. So they're bringing in a vet into the mix this year, see what Dan Arnold can do. We'll see him in the competition, what he could do, but who knows? I mean, I have a lot of good faith in Calcaterra and Jack Stahl. Tyree Jackson not enough. I think he has to push himself a little bit more because we just haven't seen enough of him because he's never healthy. But even when we saw like Calcaterra, I forgot what game it was. It might have been the first Washington game when he caught I think it was coming out of halftime when he had that first catch. I don't know if it was last year or the year before that. I'm not sure. It might have been the year before when he caught that ball on the sideline, ran all the way upfield, and then that was it. We didn't really see him for a bit. And then really last year, he got his chances here and there. And I thought his catching is really good. His separation's really not that bad. This is a 6th round pick and your offense is actually doing pretty well. The Eagles have done pretty well and picking up some guys here in the late rounds and becoming, he's got great teachers around him, which is great. And, Dallas Goedert, obviously. So I think Calcaterra is definitely next in line to, be that backup. I think more than Stahl. Stahl is definitely a great blocker, and that's why they use him too. I think Calcaterra and Stahl will make the roster. I don't think Dan Arnold will make it. I don't even think Tyree Jackson's really not going to have any shot either. So I think you're still going to have your tight ends as Goedert, Calcaterra, and Jack Stahl going in to this season. And I do like it a lot. Like I said, Dallas Goedert, we all know what happens with him every season. He'll get injured, be out a couple weeks. He usually gets injured. He has these fluke injuries here and there once in a while, and he's usually out for a couple weeks, whatever the case may be. And it really didn't take a big hit as much as everyone thought. I thought really when Dallas Goedert got hurt, it really did help the offense because we did more things. Like we started attacking with Devontae Smith a little bit more. We got to see more of Grant Calcaterra and Jack Stahl, as, a double tight end tandem in these games. Got more opportunity to see what they bring to the table. And we saw a lot more than we did. And I was really happy about that. You know what I mean? So the tight end room, I think, is really strong. You know what I mean? I think it's very strong. I think you have some, like I said, you have a really good roster all around. So putting in Calcaterra, and I think he's going to be even a better player this year. Is going to be great to watch. So that is pretty much my take on the tight end position going into this whole thing. I think we're going to have the same exact setup as we did last year. Like I said, Dallas Goedert, Grant Calcaterra, Jack Stahl. I think it's going to be almost the same exact thing going into it all. So that's really it, guys. So obviously we talked about wide receiver 3, the number one offensive position that really didn't produce enough, which we need more from it, is wide receiver 3. That's definitely 100% correct. And what are they going to do? Are they planning to trade Quez? Are they gonna keep him? We don't know. If they're planning to trade him, obviously, there's only a couple guys available. I mean, there's make your pick. And if they're going to keep him, I would keep Zacchaeus as well and use both of these guys in the offense. And I really am not worried about Quez Watkins going to this year. I feel like he's going to have a monster year, be more focused, and do a good job. So I'm not really worried about it too much as I thought. Obviously, you want to get loaded. If they want to sign Julio Jones's depth or something, they could do that if they really wanted to. Because at the end of the day, I think they brought in a lot of big receivers like Joseph Nagata, some of these other guys as well. Because when you really look at it, what if AJ Brown gets hurt? Knock on wood, but what if he does get hurt? You know what I mean? You have no replacement for AJ Brown, a big body receiver. So they bring in Joseph Nagata. You know what I mean? So they're bringing in some guys. Potentially could make the roster. Maybe we'll see. You know what I mean? Devin Allen looks like he's getting phased out of OTAs, not even as a special teams guy anymore. You know what I mean? So I don't know what's going on. How many of the receivers are they going to be keeping? So there's a lot to really dive into once we get to training camp and we get to see how everyone's lined up and who they have on the depth chart and what it looks like. And trust me, we'll be keeping notes of all of that, and it should be really cool. Like I said, we were lucky to have a pretty healthy team last year, and Devontae Smith goes down or AJ Brown, like who replaces that? It's tough to replace that. But it's crazy. Even if one of them did go down, like you'd have to replace them. But at the same time, your offense would still be pretty good if you just needed them for a game or something like that, but you don't want that to happen, obviously, because like the depth, like I said, there's nobody that has, obviously the same skill sets as those guys at that high of a level. So that's why they're depth pieces, but hopefully, I think obviously you'd move Quez Watkins to the outside and probably would move Zacchaeus to the inside at slot. I think that's probably a reason too they did that move. I mean, that's definitely in the books. In case you have an injury from one of your outside receivers, you move Quez over to outside because he could play inside and outside, and then strictly just put Zacchaeus in there full time until, somebody comes back from injury. So I think that would make more sense going into it. But that's really it. That's all I can really think about right now. So obviously the coming days we'll have more content, and I'll have an update for you guys on the channel of other things that is going on. And the break for this channel is coming soon, because we're going to be hitting that dead zone of the season soon. And obviously that's when, you're on vacation, you're taking time off and stuff like that. So I'll let you guys know. I'll put posts up. I'll let you guys know even in video as well on what's going on. And then, you guys will know firsthand what's going on there. But other than that, guys, I hope you guys enjoy your work week, enjoy the rest of the day, and be patient. Training camp will be here, and I will see you guys on the next one. Remember, SHAKESQUAD up, follow slide. Peace out, guys. Peace.